Okay, so this is the second campground example that we did in class this week. And I'm going to do an example of it here on this sheet, but then I'm also going to do it in the spreadsheet so you can see how that works. So it's a lot like the other one we had that was fancy. This is going to be just a little different. That's a little more rustic option. So we've been asked to assess the value of a development option. It's the same 20-year lease and an 8% annual discount rate. The facilities, hookups and restrooms, going to be a little more rustic. They're going to require a $75,000 investment right now. And then the annual maintenance costs, so we're going to have roads and that sort of thing to get to the sites, about $4,000 a year starting at the end of the first year. And then there's another $7,000 a year every 4 years starting at the end of the fourth year. So we have to do things like maybe move the bathrooms or dig new holes, that sort of stuff. We expect 9,125 overnight visitors each year, and they're going to charge $12 a night. The landowner, like the other one, has informed us that after the lease, it will not be extended, nor are they going to pay for any improvements we might make to the property. So my employer wants to know, what is the present value of this rustic plan? So like the other one, we have part one, which is $7,000 now. We have part two, $4,000 per year. Part three, $7,000 every 4 years. And then part four, we have visitors that are going to pay to stay here. It's a 20-year lease, total 8% annual. So all the pieces I have are there. So let's look at part one. Right, and that's just this $75,000 per year, right? This is the initial cost. And the VO is already in the present year. So negative 75,000. It is already a single sum and existing in its own year. Don't have to do anything to it. Part two is going to be the annual maintenance. Okay, and so with this one, right, we know that for 20 years, right, so 5, 10, 15, and I don't need to do all these, right, but we're going to have this annual payment going all the way out to 20. So we know how to handle that, right? We look on our sheet. It's not one-time payment. It happens every year, as this one's annual. It doesn't go on forever because we have a 20-year lease. It ends in 2 years. So we don't want the value at the end. In the future, we want the value now. So there's our equation right there, the terminating annual present value. So let's write that equation down. VO equals A 1 plus I to the T minus 1 over I times 1 plus I to the T. That's our equation. And we want to get in our known values. So our known values here are A equals minus 4,000. That's the annual maintenance fee. The I equals 8%. And the T is the time period that we're talking about, which is 20 years. So got my values for part two. I'm going to plug them in. And I have minus 4,000, 1.08 to the 20 minus 1 over 0.08, 1.08. I'm falling apart here, guys, to 20. Okay, so that's my equation, got it all laid out, and I can plug that into my Excel spreadsheet or whatever. At the end of this, I'm going to go and do this in the Excel spreadsheet. So if you want to see how I type these in, you can see that there as well. So minus 39,272.59. Test these things out. Make sure that you can do it. What's going to get people a lot is going to be bracketing to make sure that the operations happen in the order that they should happen. So be aware of that as you're doing it. And you can always send me images either of what it is you're writing or what you have in your Excel spreadsheet, and I can look at it and get back to you with issues you might have. So part 3 is the periodic maintenance. Okay, and so the periodic maintenance is that every 4 years we have to pay $7,000. So not single again, not every year, every N years. Doesn't go on forever, it ends as 20 years. It is this guy down at the bottom, the terminating periodic present value. So I got to plug that one in down here. So I have VO equals A 1 plus I to the T minus 1 over 1 plus I to the N minus 1 plus I to the T. Okay, that's the equation we have there. What are the known values that we have? This A is going to be negative 7,000. The N is every 4 years. The T is the 20-year time period that we're talking about. I didn't do a timeline. I'm losing the point, guys. And the I is 8%. So got my values, got my equation. Go ahead and plug them in. Equals negative 7,000, 1.08 to 20 minus 1 over 1.08 to the 4 minus 1 times 1.08 to the 20. Boom, got that plugged in. Again, check your brackets. You may have things where things are hanging out and you want to make sure that it does the order that you want. Okay, minus 15,251.96. Okay, so got these three. Last one to do is my revenue. So this is my 9,125 and they're doing 12. So timeline is the same as this one, really. I could have combined them because they're all in the same year, but I'm going to keep them separate just to walk through it. So part 4 is revenue. Okay, that's what our timeline would look like. But in this case, the A is going to be the 9,125 visitors that we're paying $12 per visit. And right, that's going to equal 109,500. Just like above, I have an I of 8% and a T of 20. This is the equation I'll be using. It's the exact same as the one above. So I'll just go ahead and plug those values in. So my VO equals 109,500 times 1.08 to 20 minus 1 over 0.08, 1.08 to the 20. And that should equal 1,075,087.14. So now I got my 4 pieces. I've crunched them all down into one point in time. And because they're now all in that one point in time, I can just sum them up. And the VO total then is going to be, we'll start with our revenue, 1075087.14. We'll subtract off the present value of our initial cost, 75,123. Subtracting off also our annual 37,270. That's 39,272.59. And finally, our periodic ones. So 15,251.96. And if I did it all right, that should equal 945,562.59. Right, so that's the value of this rustic campground option for this particular campsite. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to do the formulas in Excel, and then I'm going to come back and we'll talk about opportunity costs associated with these 2 options. So first, let's switch over to Excel, and we will share this. So now you should be looking at my spreadsheet, right, where I've got my equations in there and I've got my initial cost. And this one, right, we had just said that was minus 75,123. It's already in the present value. I have annual costs, and those ones, that was our equation over here. If you can see it, that is the present value of the terminating annual, VO equals A over there. So up in my thing, I'm going to do equals, and my A was minus 4,123,4,000 times, and I have 1.08 to the 20 minus 1, right? Close that up, open this up, 0.08 on the bottom, that's my I, times 1.08 to 20, close the brackets there. You can see them in red, close it again, and I've got all this stuff on the bottom isolated. And I can see already that I made a mistake with the 8. That should be a multiplying, and that's my equation. So when I do enter, I get my 39,272, which is what we wanted to get. Now we're doing periodic costs. And this one was the $7,000 every 4 years. So over here, this was the one at the bottom, right, where we have every N years for T years. And so this one, it's going to equal, I'm up in my thing here, minus 7,000 times, we'll open that up, 1.08 to the 20 minus 1, close it, over, open it, and I'm going to keep this one separate, 1.08 to the 4 minus 1, close the brackets there, times, open them, 1.08 to 20, close those, and then close the other ones in black. And boom, I got my 15,251. So if I'm smart here and I want to do my revenue, right, this is where Excel comes in handy. I can just copy this that I have there and then paste it down below. And so now, instead of having these negative 4,000, I can do an open bracket, my 9,125 visitors times $12 per visit. Close it, and I get 1075087, which is just what I wanted. And then I can just sum these up. So if I say in my cell here, equals sum, open, and I grab these guys like that, and then close it, enter. There we have that answer of 945,562. So, right, that is how I would do it in a spreadsheet to get my total. If you like to see these things, you can come to here and format the number. Some people like it that way because then you can see these. We're European, those would be dots over here and commas over here. So some people that confuses them, but for most of us, that makes it easier. So 945. So now let's switch back and talk about comparing this option or what this might mean. So here we are back on our document camera. We can lift it up, and we did this day a rustic option, right? It was $75,000 to put it together, $12 a night, and that's what we were doing here. There's also the option of doing it fancy. And so if we did it fancy, right, we were saying it was going to cost more. So here's what we did on Monday. We had $250,000 that we spent. So we spent more money on facilities. Maintenance was the same, it's kind of roads and that sort of thing. But then we also had more money every 5 years. So fancier toilets, we're in there really fixing them up nice. About a third of the visitors. So we're not going to get as many visitors because we have these larger sites with hookups perhaps, but we're going to charge more, $45 a night. But have the same pieces that we put together, and we came up with $1,085,000. That's our cost. So when we compare that $1,085,000 with our $945,000 that we just did for our rustic one, that starts to give us an idea of an opportunity cost. So if if my company decided to go with the rustic one, right? So let's say my boss says, hey, you know, we are a kind of a nature company and we're going to go with the more natural option. And we go with this option that's 945, 562.59, right? Instead of the option that was 1,085,043 with kind of more glamorous camping in it, right? If we choose this one over this one, the opportunity cost or what we could have had, right? The difference between the best option and the one that you choose is going to be 1.08 into 1,085,043.97 minus the best option minus the one that you chose, 0.59, right? And that would give us the opportunity cost here, which is 139,000, I believe, 139,481. Right, so that would be the cost. So if this person makes that decision, they should value whatever it is, quieter, whether it's less disruption on the land, whatever. That is the difference between the two. So that person may want to see it that way. And so they might say, well, 12, what if I charge 14? So if you charge $14 a night, right? We could go back and we could just change the 12 in our spreadsheet to 14 and see what we get. And we might get something like 1,24743. That could be a 1. My typing here is pretty bad at my writing. Right? So, but we get a higher value if we can charge 14 a night. So the problem with that, if you think about it, is if you raise the price by that, which is, you know, you're just under 20% there, that's going to mean that you probably won't have 9,100. So then we start to get into supply and demand, and that's what we're going to do next week. So we would expect maybe less visits than that, and that would eat away at this. And so, you know, maybe that opportunity cost would still be there. But I hope that helps. I hope it helped to see it in the spreadsheet. And we'll bring these options back when we get to cost benefit analysis. So thanks, guys. And I will stop sharing and stop the recording.